This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services, located on 7 Kern Street in Exeter, Pennsylvania, just down the street from Blue Ribbon Dairy. Open through the winter, offering gift cards, poinsettia centerpieces, tropical holiday sleighs, pictures with Santa, and more. And if you're looking for snow removal services, they can take care of that too. Do not break your back this winter. Contact Keller's today and visit their social media pages for more info and hours of operation. My guests today are Eyal and Vinnie, organizers of the Big Break contest. The Big Break is a contest for bands from Pennsylvania to compete in, and the winner receives a fully produced music video, fully produced song, a photo shoot, and basically anything that they can use to form an EPK to submit to venues or record labels. They are currently in the voting stage of the contest, and we discuss the bands involved, the sponsors, the venues, and the judges, which include Aaron Bruck of Breaking Benjamin and Josh Balls, formerly of Motionless in White. Visit thebigbreakcontest.com for more info. This is a follow-up to episode 46 of the Popko Project podcast. Welcome to the show, Eyal and Vinnie, organizers of the Big Break. And we're live for the Big Break Part 2. Welcome to the show, Eyal and Vinnie.
Thank you.
What's up?
Not much, man. I had the pleasure of speaking to Eyal back in July, I believe it was. I'm not sure where you were, but I'm happy to be able to do Part 2. I was a little hesitant to do like a repeat guest.
Mm-hmm.
Because I only do like one a week, maybe 2, depending on how much demand there is. And I didn't want to do a repeat, but I'm like, you know what, this is a great thing for local musicians and people, bands throughout Pennsylvania. And then when Eyal said that we'd have additional guests, I said, let's do it. So thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
Yeah. So for anyone who did not hear our first interview, the Big Break is a contest that had started in Colorado, I want to say 12-ish years ago, if my memory serves me correctly, and then you guys kind of brought it to Pennsylvania. Talk a little bit about the contest in general. So those, like I said, you guys have been doing your media tour, I believe. I've seen podcast interviews and TV interviews over the past couple of weeks. So
signing autographs at Boss House.
I might be like late to the game, for the second interview. But talk a little bit about the Big Break and what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Big Break, like you said, is a contest for Pennsylvania bands, original Pennsylvania bands specifically, where the winning band walks away with basically everything they need to put a EPK together. So that's a music video, track recording, photo shoots, live video, from a show. So in order for them to compete, the first round, they have to create their own DIY music video. They can't hire anybody or anything like that. And we give them 3 months to put that together and give them a few requirements to put in there as well. And the 3 months ended November 31st. And now we're into the voting phase. So we've uploaded all of the videos, and you can go to thebigbreakcontest.com/vote and check out, everybody's submissions, and you vote on the one you like best. And you can vote once a day. So that's going to be going on until the end of the month. And then January 1st, we're going to announce the 9 top bands that will be moving forward to round 2. In round 2, there are going to be a series of 3 shows with 3 bands per night, 1 band each night going to the finale. which will be in February. And those 3 bands compete there again. And for all these 4 shows, we've got judges, and we also have a few, as far as the shows go, we have a few extra goodies we're throwing in there. We're going to have some entertainers between bands, and it's going to be a fun event.
Cool. And today we're recording this is December 16th. I plan on getting this up within the next 7 days or so. So we'll have some time left for people to vote at thebigbreakcontest.com/vote. So you had 3 months of submissions. That's no longer, no one's able to submit now. But out of those 3 months, I mean, how many bands do you think you guys got?
So we started with 18 that signed up. Then a few of them dropped off for personal reasons. And then we had 4 that dropped off because of COVID and scheduling conflicts. We had 1 band that just completely broke up and, during all of this. So we're down to 11 bands that are actually, followed all the rules and submitted their videos.
So you had 18 total. Is that kind of what you expected? Did you expect more? Did you expect less?
Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I was hoping we would have at least 9, so we can actually move forward and do this. If we didn't get the 9, I would have probably canceled it or push the date up or something.
Compared to when you ran it in Colorado, obviously it's probably a different market, different scene, different state. Comparing the two, I mean, it's not fair, but how was it compared to each other?
There were definitely more submissions here in Colorado. And I think the reason behind that is that we actually took a little bit of time before launching it to get the word out, as opposed to in Colorado, we just kind of like, hey, this would be cool. Let's just do it. All right, we're going to do it. So.
And what was the motivation, bringing it to Pennsylvania? From Colorado, obviously, you moved back here, and that has something to do with it. But you're sitting around here in Pennsylvania. What made you feel like, hey, let's do this. Let's try this here.
It was during COVID, and I started looking into local bands, and I was having a little bit of a hard time finding, somewhere that would list them all. But eventually I found some local bands, and I listened to them and I liked them. And I started thinking about the big break, and I'm like, well, why not bring it here? I'm kind of bored, with COVID, and people are going to want to go out eventually. And, so the events, fall in line there, and just want to do something fun and creative.
Yeah, for sure. And Vinnie, you're awfully quiet, and I don't know anything about you. So outside of the thousands of interviews you've done the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, originally I grew up in Northern California, Vacaville, same hometown as Papa Roach. So I, would see them performing at, the local ice rink. My mom said, hey, Papa Roach at the time was that band where they were considered a rowdy, crazy, no one was doing what they were doing at the time. No one in my town would let them play at any venue because they were quote unquote too hardcore. So my mom said one day, hey, I run an ice rink. Why doesn't Papa Roach play? And being like a 9-year-old at the time, seeing that and going, wow, that's pretty cool that like my mom did that for Papa Roach. And then they get signed and become, one of the top rock bands of all time. And I was always just, I like socially, like in school, I hated everyone at my school. I just did not get along with them. But when I was hanging out with like bands outside of school, going to shows personally myself, I was like, these are like my type of people. Like I could connect with them. I vibe with them. They may be talking like guitar strings and, music lingo that I don't understand, but I'm like, this is cool. Like they're everyday people just loving life. And I was an aspiring actor. My plan after school was, I'm going to move to Hollywood and audition for movies and TV shows and be that goofy, college party guy on a, hangover type of movie or something. That's where you would see me. And I was like, I don't know, like Hollywood is too pretentious. I think I'm going to stick back home and hang out with these rock bands. I grabbed my grandfather's home movie camcorder. I started, just going around filming local bands, interviewing them. MySpace comes out and people are like, yo, bro, you should put your videos on MySpace. And I'm like, dude, like, I'm not doing that. Like, no, I'm trying to become like TV, film, not internet. Like, no, this isn't AOL dial-up, kids. No. So I decided to say, you know what? Screw it. I'll put my videos up on MySpace. Well, MySpace Records finds out I'm doing this on like the down low. And they're like, there's this like 14-year-old kid on MySpace interviewing these rock bands. And this is hilarious. And then, of course, YouTube comes out. And I kind of migrated from MySpace to YouTube. Record labels blowing my phone up, sending me little press kits every day, EPKs, which we're trying to make for these bands in the Big Break. So full circle here. And they were like, hey, you want to go interview this band called the Jonas Brothers and Paramore and the Plain White T's and Alien Ant Farm? And I'm like, I guess, like, what else am I going to do, And so here's the backstage pass, go hang out and watch the band be totally shit-faced and stoned. And I'm like, oh, this is cool, like an insight to the backstage. And, you see these bands that are on magazines and I'm like, that's just like so unreal. But for some reason, I just loved it and I stuck with it. And then all these years later, I kind of got tired of California, wanted to be on the East Coast where my family's originally from. And I said, okay, did the college thing. All the friends are getting married, having kids, joining the military or whatever. And I said, what am I doing with my life? I'm going to just go start fresh, start a new life out in Pennsylvania. That's where I'm at now. And then couple months ago, I get a message from this dude right here on the screen saying, hey, you got a demo reel? And I'm like, oh, do I have a demo reel? Which video out of the 15,000 do you want to see? Google my name and there's my demo reel. And happy to be a part of the Big Break. And I understand that, not only because of the pandemic, but the music scene here kind of needs some new blood and new excitement. And, these people need venues to play at. They need a platform, songwriters, artists. So it's nice to see the response what we're getting with the Big Break.
So you guys didn't know each other at all prior to this?
Yep.
So see, I didn't know that. I felt like you had some kind of connection. I know Eyal has traveled and is in the military and things like that. I thought you guys had a connection prior to this.
No, I believe it was just like a Facebook. Someone tagged me in one of his posts, and I was like, "Who the hell's this dude?" So then I messaged him, and we had a awkward Zoom call, and he's sitting there, and he's like, so, hey, I have this idea. It's called the Big Break. And would you be interested in being the host? And I was like, I think I should hang up on this call. And then I was like, nah, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, I'll give it a shot. And I thought he was going to have 20 candidates that he was looking for. You're number 7 on the list. And then when he said, oh, dude, yeah, you're the guy that's going to help me out, I was like, oh, you're serious? Oh, well, okay.
So what about Vinnie, without knowing him? Did you research Vinnie? Did you know a little bit of his background before you reached out to him?
Before I reached out to him, I mean, I just knew whatever was on YouTube and the reel that he sent me. And I just really liked the energy that he was showing and the charisma that he was showing through there. And then, talking to him on Zoom, I'm like, well, he seems like a down to earth guy, he's not all, I don't know, he's not an asshole. He doesn't seem like an asshole. So, let's see if we can do something.
The internet is a scary place, man. You got to be careful.
It is.
You might be across the screen. You might be a nice guy.
It's very true. Very true.
No, it's cool. I like I said, I thought you guys had some kind of connection prior to that. So that's it's kind of a little interesting story there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, Vinny, he reached out to you, wants to do the big break contest. What did you feel that you could bring to the table as part of all this?
I think just with my experience, I love to do this. I love to, be up on stage any moment I can, and just to be able to help with these, bands. Most of them are starting out. There's actually a few from our competition that actually just said, "Hey, we're going to start a band and revolve around because of this competition." So that was kind of cool. And I love seeing the artists when they first start because they don't know what exactly they want. They might think to themselves, "Hey, I want a record deal," or, "Oh, I want, the YouTube music video nowadays," or, they just want to do it for the girls, they want to do it for this or that. And it's just cool to just see the diversity and see like, there's some bands that were even nervous just to do this competition. And it's like, that's so cool because we all got to start somewhere. And I think to be able to give back, I'm not a musician myself, but to be able to be, connected in the scene in this form is, great to be able to be like, I feel like, it's like community, charity event, it's like you feel like you're doing your part to help out and you're putting this percentage and saying, "Hey, look, if we're giving these artists the opportunity," because I bet half of these bands probably wouldn't have reached out to, for example, the V Spot and be like, "Hey, we're a band, we want to play." Like, they don't know how to do that. And, if it wasn't for this, platform, I think it kind of, helps them just get that stepping stone, right off. So that's why I'm happy to be a part of it.
Is that why you guys wanted to do this? Is to kind of create that platform, like you said, to, jumpstart these bands and maybe whether it's their career or, the next step? Why was it important for you guys to do this contest as overall?
There's not one clear answer about this, but I think if I was to put it all like in a nutshell, is I'm a musician. I love local music more than national acts. And I'm at that age where I don't think I can act like be in a band, so I can't be in that aspect, of the music scene. And I just want to be involved and just do something that, I'm good with video production. So that's, what I can put in it and still be a part of the music scene in that way.
It's cool. And talk a little bit again about what the bands get and why it's important. You said there's a video, fully produced song. Why is an EPK important to, I mean, obviously the bands know this, but anyone listening to this, why? And they're saying, well, what's the big deal about the big break? Why are people doing this? Why should people care? Why is it important for these bands?
Vinny, you want to take that one?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're an unsigned artist and you're trying to, book a show, or maybe you don't even want to book a show. Maybe you want to go straight to a record label or try to hire a booking agent or a manager or a publicist. They're getting like 5,000 requests a day, and they're just going to go, "Oh, I'll listen to the first 10 seconds. Okay, don't like this artist. Okay, I'll wait for the hook. Don't like this one." And if you have an EPK, you have a following on social media, yeah, that does help, but there's also those artists who maybe they have 70 followers and that's it. And that's just their family and a couple of their friends, but they might be the next big thing. So if they're able to present themselves with an EPK and say, "Hey, look, we want to go play a show in the middle of the country in Oklahoma." People in Oklahoma are going to go, "What are you, a band from Pennsylvania? Okay, you play rock music? Great." But if you can say, "Hey, look, we have a music video. We have headshots, photo shoots. We have a professionally mastered song recording that's good quality. This is what we have. We have, a live recording. You've got videos." You're more than likely to be up on the scale, so it's just like, you got to think of it as any other job. Maybe you want to go and say, "Hey, I want to get a job at, X store or whatever." They're going to say, "Well, what's your experience? Let's see your resume." And if you can be like, "Oh, I did this and I did that. And, oh yeah, we're a band. We, a lot of chicks dig us. And, we sell out at, the bar in Scranton." People are not going to care. But when they start seeing the media and start seeing the photos and the video and go, oh, this band might be something. Now they're going to pay attention. So that's why it's important. And I think with Eyal and myself as, filmmakers, I've done tons of music videos for artists, and it just helps. I see a band that has no media whatsoever. Maybe they have a Facebook page and a cute picture of themselves. Cool. All right, go like their page. Why not? But if they're saying we got a music video and it's funny as hell, or it's creative, or it looks like this, I think everybody's going to like pay attention a little bit more. So, that's what it's all about. So,
yeah, I think it's more important now than ever for a band to have good quality material, whether it be or music recording, video stuff they can put on their social media pages that they can use for content. Because I said it before, and you can probably back me up on this, but like content is king. You got to be constantly, sharing with your fans and potential fans who you are and what you do, and whether it's a TikTok or a Facebook video or whatever it might be.
That's a full-time job in its own, almost.
Yeah, man. Like I was talking to who was it? Shoot, I don't remember. The Magwas, and just how important it is, and you mentioned Vinny too, but like back in the day, like you saw bands partying, getting drunk, getting high, whatever it might be. I don't think you see a lot of that these days because for a few different reasons. I feel like, younger bands are a little, more health conscious, but I think like a big part of that is because they are, just focused on the band and moving it forward. And it's almost a business where they have to be able to constantly put out content, and there's cell phones in everyone's pockets. So if they do something bad, during a party or during a show, that could, ruin them before they even get started. Which is
I saw a video of this chick pissing on some dude's face.
That was amazing. That was amazing. Like, I don't even know, man. That's so cool you brought that up. Like, and like the thing about it too is like she's very, very attractive. It wasn't like just some slob who decided like let's right. And the guy didn't look like he minded.
No, I used to use that. Spit that out.
That was
got it on the freaking people up front. Yeah.
And then I think wasn't she like getting sued or something happened to her. I mean, it might not have been the smartest thing, or maybe it was the smartest thing, because I never heard of her until that.
Right. There's what do they say? There's no such thing as bad press, or
yeah, they do say that sometimes. I mean, I could agree with that to an extent.
Pissed on a dude, and everybody knows who she is.
In his mouth, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some guys like that. Some girls.
No. But going back to the social media thing, I've witnessed, firsthand being out on the Vans Warped Tour and seeing artists like Echo Smith is a great example. They were young, and, the more work you put into something, will pay off. And like, you got to think, okay, there's 5 people in the band, right? If each of those people in that band know 100 people, boom, you already got 500 followers. And sometimes you don't see that with, some of these local bands, but you just got to find that band that you want to become, whether it's Motley Crue. All right. What did Motley Crue do to get noticed? All right. They partied, but besides all that, they went out and they promoted the hell out of each other. You hear bands back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, oh, they're flyering it up, they're doing this. And you don't really see that too often. It's like, oh, there's a tiny flyer in the corner of the bar over there, saying, oh, come see our bands. No one's going to pay attention. You got to go out there. Like what we're doing with the Big Break. Everyone's like, man, these guys are doing media interviews all the time. It's like, it's just me and him. Like, we got to, otherwise no one's going to come to these shows. So same thing. If you're in a band, you got to hustle and grind, and the more work you put into it, the better the outcome is. So, and I think a few weeks ago we were talking, someone asked us, well, isn't that annoying to be like, hey, check us out on Facebook, listen to my song, listen to my video? Well, yeah, it is annoying. I mean, I personally, I unfollow bands because of that too sometimes, but you gotta like you were saying, Johnny, you got to have good content, stuff that people are going to want to click on. So, it's different for everybody. So,
well, with the self-promotion stuff, you can really tell, just in the big break, in this round, the top band right now has over 1,000 votes. The band all the way down at the bottom has like 58 or 60 votes. And me as the admin of the big break, Facebook page, anytime somebody shares the page, I get a notification. So I see what's going on. And it's almost like
it coincides.
Right. Absolutely. 100%. It's, the band, that's all the way up here there. I see them constantly sharing and sharing and sharing. And then the ones that are down lower, I don't really see it all, Yeah. So, and it's whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out of it.
It's interesting too. Cause I have a hard time sometimes because this podcast for me is just like a passion project, right? I have a couple sponsors that help me make it possible. But outside that, it's a passion thing. So, but I want people to follow it and enjoy it. But it's funny because you're not gonna get something unless you ask for it. I put a post up last week that said, "Hey, if you like what we're doing, please give us a review on Apple Podcasts." And sure as shit, 3 people actually left it, right? But I hate doing that because I don't want to bother people either. But it's not going to happen unless you say, "Hey, this is what's going on, and if you like what we do, hey, if you have a minute, please, do a review." Because I hate that, just the constant self promotion, but it's part of the game.
It is, and you have to, you really have to brand yourself too as a band, as Popko Project, as Big Break. If you look at the big bands and big companies, even small companies that understand branding, you're using the same color palettes, using the same text type. It's not just throwing anything out there and see if it sticks. It's make a whole, a whole
cohesive thing.
Right. And stick with it.
Yeah.
And for me too, Johnny, I completely get you 100%. I had people who were like, "Oh, if you're gonna do a show, you gotta have Instagram, you gotta have TikTok, you gotta have Snapchat, you gotta have Facebook, you gotta have a Tumblr, you gotta have Blogspot, you gotta have all this stuff." Now, when you're just a small crew of 1 or 2 people, it's a total burnout, right off the bat. I personally totally got burnt out from social media because, like I said earlier in this podcast, I was that MySpace kid, where it was selfie with your parents, digital camera and transferring it and making it cool with all them filters. And, then it was responding, oh, someone tweeted me. I got to respond to them. I got to. And eventually your mind just goes poof, and you're just okay, time out. I cannot. You go and you look outside and you go, wow, the sun went down. I've been sitting here literally for the last 12 hours just tweeting people I don't even know. And, but it, like you said, it is part of the game, but you just got to play it safe and know your boundaries of okay, I'm going to spend an hour, do it, get off, go enjoy my life. And then, because we get sucked into this digital age and it's scary.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for bands, or I'll take the advice as well, but do you have advice as to how bands can increase their following on, social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter?
Bands specifically, they need to stop playing in the same town all the time and get out and play different venues at different cities and different states. Playing in the same town, you're never going to get much more than you already have.
It's so far away, man. No.
It's I relate that to. I used to work in print media, and print media is such a do as I say, not as I do media, at least locally around here. And it's, they tell you like, hey, you need to promote yourself. Like, got to spend the money. You got to invest. You got to like be on billboards and in the print and then in the radio and things like that. But if you ask them, well, how do you promote yourself? They're like, oh, well, we have an ad in our own paper. And it's like, but, well, how do you get new readers? Oh, well, we have an ad in the paper. But like, the people seeing the ad are already your audience. How do you get new people? Oh, we don't. Do you spend money elsewhere? No. We don't do that. So it's like, if that's like a band playing to the same audience all the time, you're not going to grow your audience if you keep playing to the same one.
Right. Exactly.
So.
And I mean, that's what you want to do anyway in a band, right? You don't want to stick around in the same, so start practicing.
Yeah.
And also it helps to have like mentors. And that's why we brought the judges in for the big break too, is, these young bands or fairly new bands or experienced bands that have been around for a while that are in the break, it just kind of gets them to the next level in this aspect of, wow, like, if this is like, for an example, we got, Josh Balls from Motionless in White, and people always are like, well, what made that band successful? How come they got to get out of Scranton and Wilkes-Barre? And how come it took them 5 to 10 years to get their first record deal and be on Fearless Records and, everything blow up for them? How does it work? And I think that's the issue with not just this area, but other local areas, is that they're maybe not afraid to ask, or those artists aren't afraid to share either. Like you were just saying about with the media. Well, if they're successful, how are they successful? I had the same issue myself. I wanted to be an actor. I went to every actor that I knew personally and be like, so how'd you end up in that movie? And they're like, oh, I just ended up in that movie. And it's like, come on, can you give me a better answer or not? So same thing with these bands. It's like, well, how did, this band become successful? How did they get that record deal? Did they have a meeting behind, a secret vault? Like, people are afraid once they hit that plateau, once they have that experience, to give back. And I think artists need to start giving back. And that's why I said, these artists need to find, that mentor band to be like, start asking the questions like, hey, I really admire this band. How did it work for you? Same thing, we were talking about social media. How did that band get, 500,000 views and followers? Well, ask them,
Yeah. So bringing Josh and Aaron in, both of them are super nice. And I'm sure, either one of them would take, a few minutes to sit down with one of our bands in the contest and just have a real talk.
Yeah. So let's get into that. I mean, you started this big break contest kind of out of nowhere, right? Like at least in Pennsylvania, right?
Right.
But you've been able to get great support from sponsors. I saw you guys pushing the Parlor Root Beer. John Phillips, you told me you were going to sponsor this show. So whenever you want to send some root beer to my house, let me know. Kind of felt like that was a kick in the balls there, buddy. How were you able to get support from sponsors? Was it pretty easy? You just kind of pitched the idea and they were like, yeah, I'm on board with that. Or, what kind of value did you provide to them to get them on board?
I mean, I've got the sponsor packet, right? So, just the sponsor packet itself has 5 different tiers. But as far as connecting with them and I don't know, just talk to them. I don't think I'm doing anything special. I'm not like whining and dining them or anything like that. I'm just talking to them, telling them about the project, and usually they think it's a really good idea, and they're like, well, let's see how we can, make things work. And then within a few days, I have a check.
Simple, right? Well, I mean, that's no, seriously. Like, so I've been in sales for most of my career, and I've been successful because I talk to people like they're people, and I'm very upfront about, here's what this is, here's what you get. If If you like it, great. If you don't, that's cool too.
Right.
But, I don't try and, swindle them or smoke and mirrors. It's just like, this is why it's important. This is why I find it, it relates to what you're doing. And it makes sense. So I think you probably take that approach in that, you approach the right people and why it makes sense for them. And it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. You're building a relationship, especially if you're going to be reaching back out to sponsors for, doing the same thing next year or whatever like that. And, you don't want to, you just got to follow through with what you're promising. And if you're, promising to put them on t-shirts, you put them on t-shirts.
Right.
You just talk about them, So,
if you need t-shirts, I know a guy.
Yeah.
But and then you have these judges, right? You mentioned Josh Balls, formerly of Motionless in White. And then you said Aaron. For those of you who don't know Aaron, it's Aaron Bruck from Breaking Benjamin. If you guys want to go check out the podcast I had with them, Josh Balls was episode 56 and Aaron Bruck was episode 57 back to back. It's available on Spotify at the Popko Project. But how did you guys, how'd you guys approach them to say, hey, would you guys be interested in being judges?
So I'm friends with Josh Ball's sister. So that's
Trish?
how I got. Yep.
I know Trish too. I met her before I met him.
Right. Same.
Where?
Like a house party or something. I don't remember. Yeah.
In my story, it was my Bennigan's 2004.
Is there more to it than that?
No, she was
Okay.
She worked there and so did I.
Oh, right on. But yeah, no, I just I just asked her, I'm like, hey, do you think your brother would be receptive to this? And she said, yeah, I think he would, but let me connect you to. And she called me, she gave him my number. He called me and I told him what it was all about. And he's like, give me a couple of days to think about it. He asked what dates the shows are going to be. And within a week, he's like, yeah, I'm down. Let's do this. And then with Aaron, our sponsor, Bynum Beautiful Salon, is actually where he goes. That's his salon. So, right. So, she's like, hey, you should really talk to Aaron and see if, he'd want to do this. So that was kind of her idea. And then later on, I didn't even know that Aaron and Josh are friends, so I brought it up to Josh and he's like, oh yeah, no, let me talk to him too. So yeah, they were just, that's it.
Yeah.
It's got lucky, I guess, with people, right?
Yeah. And the reason I was plugging my own episodes, it wasn't being an asshole type of thing, but they both give really great insight. How local bands can, kind of get to the next step. So there's a lot of valuable content for them. I'm sorry to interrupt again, but I just didn't want to come off as an asshole. It wasn't me trying to promote myself. It was, there's good stuff in there that they're so supportive, obviously, because they're doing this for you guys too. They're supportive of the local scene. And Aaron, he and I were closing bars down back in the mid 2000s after he played a solo gig, and he was lugging gear around for a lot of years. And if there's anyone who deserves the success he's been having, it's definitely him. But so you have two big supporters of the of musicians, and
it just goes to say, right, that it doesn't just happen, right? He said he was lugging his gear around and putting in the work to get to where he's at now, right? Like it didn't just happen.
No, not at all.
So it's just bands got to do that. They got to lug their stuff around, and maybe one day
they'll get their big break.
Yeah.
So who else do you have as judges?
His name is Aiden Herzl.
Okay.
And he moved here from Virginia. And one of the reasons, other than him being, a musician and aspiring musician and just music lover of all sorts, he doesn't know any of the bands. And to me, that was him being from out of state. He can't have that bias that, people from around here may have if you pick somebody. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's basically it.
That's smart. That's good to have.
Yeah.
And then as far as the bands you have go, and I don't want to put you on the spot, maybe you don't have the list in front of you, but can you talk about the bands who are currently in the voting pool? I know there's a handful from NEPA, but this is a contest across Pennsylvania too. So how far out did you get submissions from?
Pittsburgh.
Wow, great.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, Philly. Then most are from here. But we have Old Kentucky Shark, Radio Riot, Midhaven, Prime 8. That's Pittsburgh band. I Am Buffalo, Gus the Savage, Tainted Faith, Black Horizon, Stars Burn Red, Stephanie and the Wild Hearts, and 570.
Okay, so yeah, I think there's 4 or 5 bands from kind of in and around our area.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Gus the Savage. So it's not all just bands, because Gus is more of an R&B rap artist. So that's cool.
Musician.
Yeah, musician.
Right.
Cool. So a good variety then.
Exactly. That's the point.
Yeah, it's good. It's great. I'm glad there was a lot of interest. That's awesome.
Me too.
It's hard, especially like something new. I'll call it new because it's new to the area. People are kind of hesitant to. And honestly, dude, like I said, that, back in our interview back in July, you can also catch that on the Spotify. I forget what episode that was, 46 maybe. Yeah, back in July, episode 46 was our first discussion, and that was very preliminary. You didn't really allude to much. We talked about what the concept was, but now there's we're into the voting. We have the judges locked in. You're moving full force. Venues. Yeah, so talk about the venues.
Yeah, sure. So round 2, like I said, it consists of 3 nights with 3 bands per night. The first night is going to be January 21st at Finnegan's. Then the very next night, January 22nd, is going to be at River Street Jazz Cafe. And following week on the 29th, we'll be up at the V Spot. And then the finale is going to be in February 11th at Bar Louie at Mohegan Sun.
Very cool. That's a good spot. I mean, I'm not a big casino guy, but as far as parking and a central location,
right, and that's also going to be the only one out of all of them that is going to be no cover and all ages, 16 and up to get in.
Cool.
The rest of them, the second round, they're all 21 and up and $10 at the door.
As far as working with the venues, I mean, I know Vinnie very well at the V Spot, so I'm sure this is actually the 3rd podcast in a row that Vinnie has been brought up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is a heavy NEPA music podcast, so it doesn't surprise me because he, out of the venues in this area, he's one of the biggest supporters of that. But I mean, how did you go about reaching out to the Jazz Cafe and Finnegan's? I think it's Finnegan's Irish Rock Club in Scranton.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Bar Louie. How did they feel about the whole thing?
So Vinny from the V Spot, I just called him. I called the venue and I asked, and at first he's like, first of all, before you even ask, just this, what band are you with? Because we're already booked out 6 months ahead or whatever, right? And I'm like, well, it's for a whole night. It's, an event, the Big Break. He's like, oh, wait a sec. I've heard about the Big Break. And, so I think the initial work of, everything we did really helped to get to that part. But he was very, very supportive. He's excited to do it. And the same thing with Finnegan's and the River Street Jazz Cafe. They're just, for instance, River Street Jazz Cafe usually feeds their bands, you know what I mean, and things like that. So we were able to work things out where, perhaps he doesn't have to give as much, and I can take a little more for putting towards producing the music videos and stuff. So it was none of this was standard by any means. There was some finagling, I guess, or not finagling, but just compromising on both ends to make it work.
Cool.
Yeah.
You took your shot.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad that this area and the venues, especially, were very receptive to it. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Barloo is super excited. They're even already saying, "Hey, let's do it again next year." All right, can we bring the bands into your venue first and see what you think?
Can we see those goes first before we?
Right.
Unless you want to pay a down payment for your sponsorship or whatever, you can do that now if you want.
Right. Well, yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's I always really enjoy seeing people, bringing new things to our area. Especially when it involves local music, because I've just been such a big advocate for this area and the local scene here, and I think we have one of the best in the country. I always say that I would put our scene up against anybody else's, and not that I've seen a lot of other areas in their towns and their scenes, but I'm just that proud of our area and what we produce. And again, not that this contest is only about, NEPA, it's, beyond that, but, the venues and all that kind of stuff are here. So, kudos to you guys for doing what you're doing. And I'm excited to see the next steps. So, yeah,
I'm hoping you come out to, at very, very least, the finale. And, the other three too. That would be cool.
Yeah. I don't get out much. I try to, not that I'm anybody, but I try to make appearances. I say that because I have a wife and kid at home, but this is at night, so it's like I try to sneak out. I mean, Eyal, we met officially at the V Spot.
Mm-hmm.
What night was that? Was that the awards?
It was.
Yeah. I think I was on my way out. I had a few drinks. I was in, yeah, just a couple.
Yeah, no.
Well, Vinnie invited me to the back, and I'm like, okay, sure. Nothing ever good happens after that. And yeah, I mean, awards were won, and people were celebrating, and I got kind of.
Yeah, it was a good time. There was the vibe in there was just awesome. It was just no negative, vibe from anyone, and it was packed. Everyone was having a good time. It was just, it was good. It was really good.
I was like in the middle of losing my voice that night. And I was like, I hope people don't think I have COVID. So I got tested and I was negative, but I was struggling, struggling bad. Well, anyways, guys, thank you so much for doing this. I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck with what you're doing.
Thank you.
The bigbreakcontest.com is the official website. If you want to vote for the bands that are involved, it's the bigbreakcontest.com/vote. And is there anything else you want to tell my audience that's going on?
Just come on out. Come out to the shows. Have a good time. Bring your family, your friends, and support these bands. And let's just put the NAPA on the map all over the place and have a good time. And I know everybody's like, I haven't been to a concert in so long. Well, here's your perfect opportunity. It's affordable, so come on out, have a good time, and we're ready to rock and roll for you guys.
And we're also giving you an opportunity to be able to support the music scene without having to leave your house for the month of December. Just go check out the bands and, the work that some of these bands put into their music video really, really shows. And I really, really suggest you go out there and check them out and vote. every day.
That's what they're voting on, right? They're voting on the DIY videos that the bands put together.
Yes. Yep.
Cool.
So.
And Vinny, what's your last name?
My last name is Langdon.
All right, Vinny Langdon. You're very mild mannered for the way you've been around these bands and you've been on stage and you love stages. I gotta Google you, and I think anybody else out there who's watching this or listening, Vinny's very relaxed, but it sounds like he's got a little bit of an entertainment value to him. So I gotta go check that out. Maybe I should have done that before we did this tonight, but
it's all good, man. All good. Did a great job. Enjoyed it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys again. Once again, thebigbreakcontest.com. Thanks for doing this, and we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
See you out there.
We'll see
you later.